Hey guys, Tarke here, and I just want to give a little update on the ED contagion memes. We ended up speccing into hybrid in the end, but there's an even spicier remake of the build which will happen in a little bit. But I'm just going to run a map so you can see it, so people have to see some more gameplay. For level 88, I have got level 93 or something Trickster, but I want to make a new one for some reason. I just really like having like Tricksters, and I really enjoy leveling ED contagion. So I've been having a lot of fun with the build. I just find it really satisfying seeing them really big, massive spreads. And that's had me thinking. So when I first made this character, part of my brainwaves was like, but what if you went like a full AoE setup? Like, what's the most AoE that you could realistically get? Because there's nothing more satisfying than watching it all chain around. And I'd been thinking about maybe doing like a Deadeye or a Pathfinder version, and you can get like really nice AoE on Deadeye and Pathfinder since they both give 50% AoE, one for Chaos from Pathfinder specifically, and then a generic 50% from Deadeye. And I was kind of like, I mean, it seems good, but maybe it's a bit too memey. I don't know, and I kind of just left it at that. So then my boy Octavian hopped in the chat, and he was talking about some MF ED contagion setup. So I'm like, well, you know, I think Deadeye would be really sexy for this because you get the 50% AoE, you get +1 proj, you can get either super low cooldown on Blink Arrow or +3 Pierce. And, like, you can see how good this like AoE contagion is already spreading around. And then if you don't like Deadeye, you could do it as a Pathfinder. You still get the 50% AoE, you got all the movement speed of Pathfinder, you get the ailment immunity, you can go all the Flask effect, you could potentially do shenanigans with Dying Suns for even more AoE, even more projectile scaling. And the more we talked about it, the more I was like, oh, I really wish I'd played that, but oh well, maybe I'll get round to like the end of the league doing like some cheesy MF setup going full quant, and I kind of stopped thinking about it. So the problem with that is I like to think about things. So we spend the next, 30 minutes or so, and he's talking about how he's actually kind of into the idea. We talk about all the different synth mods you could get, and I'm like thinking about passive skill trees in the back of my brain, and I'm kind of like planning out the trees. While all of this is going on, people are still playing my private league, doing Uber Elders and stuff, and Watcher's Eyes start dropping. And I'll show you the Watcher's Eye that I ended up buying. And now I'm seriously considering making a MF Ranger Essence Drain Contagion character. And I'll show you the full skill tree and everything for that in a second. And the other really nice thing about doing this as a Deadeye is you can actually get more cast speed on Deadeye through Tailwind than you can get on a Trickster, which is kind of cool. Like, really cool. And it's also really easy to maintain maximum stacks, the 10 stacks you need for Tailwind, on that kind of a build. Since you're playing a 1-2 combo skill and you're regularly like spamming either Blink Arrow or Flame Dash in between casts while you're running around. So you'll always be at maximum stacks, and it will actually chain super easily. And also one thing that I just like to do on ED Contagion with mobs that spawn in slowly like that is I like to purposely let all the mobs spawn so that they chain around a bit cleaner. And it just kind of means that you don't have to spam cast all that and the other. And there's a few things which is really cool about ED Contagion when it comes to like purposely kiting mobs together or delaying opening strong boxes. One thing which is really fun when you get the strong box room in the temple is you can just open all the strong boxes at once, do one ED Contagion, and you kill the entire room, and it's just super satisfying. And stuff like that just makes me enjoy PoE. So for context, the current Essence Drain Contagion AoE that we have right now, this has 40 AoE on my Contagion using a Carcass Jat. The Path of Building that I've planned, I believe, has 45% AoE with a Queen of the Forest, which is slightly higher than... I did a Quinn there. I got distracted. I meant to Flame Dash. Pro tip for any would-be hardcore boss farmers, you don't stand in the mechanic. Being a streamer is difficult, guys. I didn't drop a TP before the thing, did I? Right, as you can see, I could easily kill that boss. You saw me do the first couple of phases. So getting into the skill tree, it's fine, no one saw that. So you get an AoE radius of 43, contagion, not using a Carcass Jack. If you did use the Carcass Jack, you would get an AoE of 46. And the Watcher's Eye, which motivated the swap, I'll show you real quick. The Watcher's Eye that motivated it all. I'm not cutting it out. Other streamers would have re-recorded that. I'm an honest guy. This is a up to 24%, up to 22% non-ailment chaos damage over time multiplier. So basically a 22% more multiplier while affected by malevolence. 10% of damage taken from mana before life while affected by clarity. And then effects of consecrated ground you create while affected by zealotry linger for 2 seconds. So this means that you can run like in and out of consecrated ground. I'm not planning on using the zealotry mod, but the non-ailment multiplier and the damage taken from mana before life mod, that I am really planning on using because that's really ridiculous. That's also another reason I was thinking about like different respecs, because obviously you want to be using a Mind of a Matter version for this. So this is kind of the MF zoom tree I came up with. Obviously this isn't a bossing build, this is a power farming map build. The reason why it's not suitable for bossing is purely defensive. The damage numbers are actually really solid. So with my current gear and then random like MF stuff just thrown on top, this is with a realistic just +3 multi-mod bow. These are really easy to make. I made one of these in SSF last week. This isn't doing synth crafting. With synth crafting, you can get additional +3 to levels. Also with fossil crafting, you can push this higher. This is 550k. This is on Shaper damage with Frenzy charges, because this setup does use a Frenzy curse on hit. This is with Wither active. This is not with Val Blight active. With Val Blight active, it goes up to 600k. And otherwise, it's all very realistic. This also doesn't have a Arcane Surge active, which you could very easily fit in a level 1 Arcane Surge somewhere. So let's just say that you have a level 1 Arcane Surge thrown in. Apparently I do have that somewhere. Whatever. Oh yeah, I need something. Let's see. There you go. So yeah, like 600k. Not too shabby. Now, if you compare that to what you get on my current hybrid tree, you get obviously more damage, but the main thing is really looking at the movement speed differences. So my current setup, I'm not using a queen, I'm using a Carcass Jack. I have 155% movement speed, and I only have 40 AoE, right? So with the Queen of the Forest on a Deadeye, you gain 7 base AoE, which is ridiculous, and you gain like 120% movement speed. That's quite a substantial increase. So for pure MF, this is like kind of ridiculous. If you did this as a Pathfinder, which would obviously be a more defensive option, since you get all the increased flask effect, you get the ailment immunity. This is also let you run a bunch of defensive unique flasks. You'll still get the AoE from Nature's Reprisal, but you will lose some movement speed. So you'd go from 278 to 244. Still very fast, still a lot faster than the Trickster. Still has 7 more base radius than the Trickster. And that's kind of like the middle ground, I would say. So it's kind of like if you went Trickster, because Trickster's like insane budget, survivability, and damage, and you're like, okay, I want to go like pretty zoom, but I don't want to throw away like all of my defense, I'd say go for the Pathfinder setup. And then if you want to go full zoom MF, go for Deadeye. But obviously, if you're going for this setup, you're doing this specifically to just like ridiculously power farm maps. So yeah, don't do this setup if you want just like a all-rounder Essence Rain character. If you want an all-rounder Essence Rain character on a budget, go Trickster. Super high investment, low life Occultist if you want a boss farm. And if you want a super MF, go for some Ranger setups. And yeah, it's pretty straightforward. Go for life, all the mana nodes, get aggro, phase aggro, chase down methods of madness, atrophy, and corruption. Haven't planned around Jewel Curse, but you could go Jewel Curse. This is just using a Frenzy Curse on hit. Despair, similar setup I used on my Corsair character from last week. This is also coincidentally a tree you could use for Corsair. However, for Corsair, I'd still recommend going for all the bow nodes and all of that kind of good shenanigans. But yeah, this is just a really cool setup that I'm really interested to try. Gear which is worth looking out for this MF setup. Obviously, Sedima's Touch is great. If you're lucky enough to get a double corrupted Sedima's Touch, which if you're full MF, I guess you could actually gain an additional +2 AoE on your Contagion, because you go for +2 socketed, +2 levels of socketed AoE gems, also +2 of duration gems. You gain +2 base radius, because that pushes your Contagion up to level 25, if you have a level 21. Also, all of these numbers, I believe, was only with a... Oh, this was with a level 4 in power, okay. So that's all pretty... It's all pretty realistic. The most unrealistic thing here is the Unnatural Instinct. I have one. You don't need the Unnatural Instinct. All it's really doing is giving you some mana, life, and charge gain. You don't need that. It doesn't break the build not having it. If you're going for a full MF setup, I feel like you can be kind of crazy with your MF things. One thing which does give you some nice sustain that you're missing from the Trickster is going for a Recover Life on Kill Implicit Quiver. This is pretty easy to craft, actually. So you need to get an average of, I believe Octavian said, 12 life gain on hit on 3 Fractured Quivers to hit that mod. There are other really cool mods you can get, like Projectile Speed. You can get max res on quivers. You can get a bunch of res implicit. So if you manage to go like dual Ventors and stuff, you're really starved on resists. You can get loads of like resist implicits here. For helmets, just a fossil crafted helmet. You can get quant synthesized implicit, but that's very crazy. Queen of the Forest, obviously. Sedima's, if not Sedima's, you could just use a rare with life resist. That would make capping your resist very easy. It's Zeri Step, I just threw that in there because we've gone for spell dodge, but you could use any rare, make capping resist a lot easier. You could go for an Onslaught pair of boots, which would give you an extra flask swap, make life a lot easier. For Amis, for MFing, the best by far would be going for a Shaper Ami, ult spam until you get tier 2 or tier 1 quant of items found, Regal Annul, pray you get just the quant items found, craft a multi-mod, life, mana, damage gained as mana, then any missing resist you need, or you can go for attack and cast speed, or you can go for like pure damage setups there. But yeah, that's like the most budget version. You could also scour Pee-wee Trade for corrupted quant talismans. We're using an Essence Worm since this is a Mind of a Matter build. That's how we're getting our Malevolence, and we need the Malevolence to proc our Watcher's Eye. It gives a bunch of damage. It also gives skill effect duration. Skill effect duration is really good. Ventor's Gamble, a bad Ventor's of just like 5 quant life, maybe some res. You could also go for a Pariah. Getting Pariahs is very easy because you just need to get Verici White Socket on it, and that's guaranteed 10 quant, 10% attack and cast speed. Really good, but then you're missing out on obviously stuff like life and resists. Belt, Bisco's Leash, very solid quant option. You could also just go for a solid life belt with the Stygian. But yeah, this gives quant, it gives you rampage, it also gives you a bunch of rarity. You could go for anything else. There's also loads of really nice corruptions on belts. Nearly all the belt corruptions are actually really solid. You've got increased area, increased attack speed, increased cast speed, percent life, movement speed, quant, rarity, skill effect duration, increased malevolence, aura effect. Like nearly everything in here actually scales this build, so this is really, really solid. For Flasks, if you're going Deadeye, you're going to want the basic coverage of Alchemist, Quicksilver of Adrenaline, a Stibnite and Jade combo to boost your evasion up super high. Currently have 50k evasion with this setup. A Silver Flask if you don't have Onslaught. If you do have Onslaught, you could swap this out for a Quartz Flask or a Basalt Flask, and then a Life Pot of Bleeding. If you did this as Pathfinder, then this is like just all unique flasks. And then ideally like the Big Daddy Watcher's Eye, a whatever jewel with life, mana resist, or damage, whatever it is you need. Unnatural Instinct if you have one. Probably just another life mana jewel there. And then Spreading Rot, and then Corruptions you can go for Spreading Rot is cannot be silenced, increased area, or Corrupting Blood cannot be inflicted on you are all really solid. So yeah, if you want to go full MF, full zoom, this is how you do it. And if you want to kill Chim, by the way, I recommend not standing in his abilities. That helps. Let's go get my revenge against the dirty, dirty man. But yeah, I'm curious if you guys have done any other like really cool, wacky MF setups this league. I kind of love... this is going to sound like really contradictory from all the things I've said about Path of X over the last couple of years. So there's been the constant like power creep fear. Power creep is a concern, but power creep lets you do really cool things. And one of the reasons why I really like dot builds and why you've seen like MF Corsair builds for so long is they require very little gear. You could do the exact same setup as MF Corsair, which you see all the time, but I feel like MF Essence Drain Contagion with all the crazy AoE you can get now, it's just kind of cooler. It's just something a bit fresh. Don't one-tap me again, dude. Dodge the mechanic this time. See what I did there? See what I did there, chat? I didn't stand in the mechanic this time around. Easy. Easy. But yeah, it's actually, when you're not standing in the I'm going to kill you now mechanics, it's actually like a really solid build. If you were doing this in hardcore on the Trickster setup, I would definitely recommend going perfect form, which is what I did on my Soren character. The Carcass Jack setup was purely just like trying to push the contagion as far as I could. And that's the other thing which is worth noting about doing this as a ranger. So if you do this on a Pathfinder, you can use a defensive chest piece. Then you could use a bunch of defensive unique flasks. And you could actually make this tankier than the Trickster, while also having better map clear than the Trickster. So who would have thought it? It turns out Pathfinders are pretty good in modern day PoE. I'm Tarke. Have a good day. Hope you enjoyed the boot cleaning, by the way. Bye-bye.